Gabe, thank you so much for joining me, man. For making the time. I know you're a busy man, dude. So
Not as
I
busy as
really
you
appreciate.
think, but I try. I try to be busy.
Yeah, it's super modest, man. So again, thank you so much for joining, man. What to expect? Man, gear talk, right? Gear talk. Essentially how you started, playing guitar. How you started essentially getting more into the social media realm, right? I saw you pop up, out of nowhere on TikTok, and then but your content has morphed into a different style now, right? Which I really like. So we'll talk a little bit about what you're currently working on and some crazy stuff, man. So before we get started though, let's maybe get into an icebreaker.
For
um
sure.
Guitarists always have this whole thing about gear, right? The whole gear. Um, we tend to nerd out on things that don't even matter, right? But at the end of the day, it's just fun. So what's your rig, man? What is the go to right now?
My go-to for a while has been Neural DSP plugins. Those just do it for me. As ever since I got the Pliny, archetype Pliny, it was just so easy to record into Ableton. I can switch the settings afterwards. There was no reamping or having to, re-record your guitar to do that reamping thing with the quad cortex. With a plugin, it's just super simple. I was playing through my, two Yamaha speakers. It was just so convenient. So my rig really has been archetype Pliny, archetype Mateus Sato. Those two really. If I want high gain, I do Pliny. If I want more of an R&B kind of texture, I do Mateus. And I think I do have all the archetype plugins. I think I almost have all
Okay,
the plugins. But yeah, I've been a big
yeah,
fan of the company. So that's my
love
go-to.
it, dude. Same here. I think my go to right now. There's just something to it. It's the Corey Wong. It just has everything for me, man. Again, I've tried a lot of. I love the Rebea one as well. The clean
Oh
one is
yeah.
just so pristine. But there's just something on the Corey Wong one, man, that is just amazing leads, amazing cleans. I
Yeah.
love the Y in there. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. What about guitar, man? So you're rocking that, sir? Is that the Mateus Asato one?
This is the Mateus Sato one. I think it's been about 2 years of me having this one already. He's my favorite guitar player. I've been really inspired by him for years now. And I never saw this guitar in any store. So I just took the leap and um, I bought it off of, was it Reverb? I think it was like a Missouri shop called Eddie's Guitars, maybe. I did I think it was a 16-month plan. I was like, all right, I'm a teacher. I can make the payments. Let's do it. I want a high tier guitar. I've been playing for a while. I want something that I can go crazy here with and more of a Strat style guitar. So this is my main go-to. Yeah, I also go through I just got this guitar over here on the side, this Barry guitar. That one's really fun too. I put some flat wounds on it. Yeah, but this is
Yeah,
my main go-to.
that's awesome, man. So what's something that you'll essentially just plug and play? What is the lick that you just have to play as soon as you grab the guitar? Show
I
me,
don't
man.
have like a specific lick, but I do just have a specific key, and that's D minor. It's in the middle.
Okay.
It's in the middle. Everything. If I want to go lower, it's right here, right? And then I can also go higher. So I can get around comfortably if I'm in the key of D minor. But one thing that I do love to play lately, actually, I was relearning this guitarist's riff. I think her name's Nathania. She does this one.
Okay.
She has like uh, um, and I think she's a guitarist from the Philippines, but she makes kind of the same type of vibes of Mateus Sato when it comes to the clean side. And yeah, she has a bunch of really pretty chord progressions and songs. That one's
Man, that
called
sound that
Sunset,
I'm gonna have to check it out. Actually, I was about to say like didn't Mateus cover that because it sounds so much like Mateus, but it might just
right?
be the same style. Yeah. So,
It was kind of like,
uh,
yeah, around the same style.
yeah. Hey, so man, so you're super heavily influenced on R&B music, especially on guitar, right? You make it sound super natural. Not like me. When I
Thanks.
try to play some R&B stuff, it feels very forced, you know? But it seems like you're super natural at that. Is that something that you kind of just catered to? Like, is that something that you practice that you said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna become a R&B guitarist,
You
or
know,
was that just very natural?
so yeah, in college I was doing I was a jazz performance major going to Florida International University over here. I was, I was my major in the beginning was engineering, but then I switched to, to music, and I met some singers. I had a class that was full of singers. It was like an elective. It was like vocal ensemble, and a lot of these singers were R&B singers. So I made friends with these. It was mainly women, and a few guys who were in that class. And man, you just talk to people in the class and you get to know them. Grab lunch or something. And I made good friends with a few of them, and they were heavily influenced by her, Daniel Caesar, and these, R&B artists that I haven't really listened to, but I knew kind of who they were. I was more still into I don't know, I just never heard those like names before, and I started getting used to hearing them. This is like 2015ish, 2016. And ever since I heard some stuff by her from her album, I think it was the first song, I was like, man, I love the vibe behind her singing. And listening to Daniel Caesar, like Japanese Denim, which I just covered the other day, just I don't know, it hit here. So then I was like,
Mm.
wow, I love, the way a few of my friends sang, and they were heavily influenced by these artists. And then I was like, wow, I think I did a deep dive, and that's when I found out about Mateus Asato, Carrie Too Smooth, Guthrie Govan, Anomaly. Who else? I started getting into Polyphia, and I'm like, man, these singers, these guitar players, they sound great. Especially Mateus, like he hits you right here, and it feels like his melodic kind of movements on the guitar is kind of reminiscent to a singer. And I was like, wow, let me dive into this. And I would buy courses from soundslice.com. I got into pickup music. I would subscribe. Every once in a while I'll do True Fire month to month stuff, and just gaining knowledge. And I would do a lot of transcribing from like Instagram videos of his, from YouTube. I remember the first thing I think I transcribed from him was his cover of Avenged Sevenfold, Afterlife. It was on the acoustic. I did it outside by the pool,
Wow.
and I just, little by little, like you can slow it down. I used to use this app called Amazing Slowdowner. You can put anything into it, slow it down, and I trained my ear just by learning his stuff, slow down on that app.
And that's amazing. And I think that's exactly how I would put it, like your style of playing. And I've seen you shred. Okay, you can shred. But I think you can speak a little bit more when you're playing guitar. Your style is very melodic, right? I hear melodies first, and then everything else. So that's something that's really hard to do as a guitarist, right? Everybody really goes into like the shredding first, and then I'll learn everything else after. And it seems like you have that foundation solid. And yeah, I honestly enjoy a lot of those videos. But let's take it back. I want to hear like your first music experience. So do you have something as when you were a kid that you were like, man, I really love music? I'll share my portion, that way you can kind of think about it.
Yeah.
But on my side, I remember my dad driving me down to kindergarten with like a 1990 Firebird, a white one, right? He put on Bon Jovi, you know? And I was like, oh my God, I think I love music. Like, this is really awesome. Like, man, like, and then from there, that's it. It just hit me, right? Music like was my thing. Then I started, I wanted to play, I wanted to hear more stuff, and then it just kind of went from there. But do you have anything like that, like a childhood memory where you're like, oh my God, like I just love this song or I love music?
I guess I do. Yeah. When I was a little kid, my dad, he would listen to a lot of Carlos Santana, and he would always have it, discs. He would have his radio and his remote, and he would have discs that he would just put into the stereo. And he would always blast Carlos Santana, Led Zeppelin, the Eagles. Those are the ones that I remember the most. I was in fifth grade, maybe. Haven't really gotten into music yet. I had just started skateboarding. That was my first passion, skateboarding, fifth grade. And my mom at that same time, my mom would be, she would do the same thing. She put her CDs in. We still have a bunch of CD compact discs there. And she would play a lot of Latin music, J-Lo, Shakira. She was more on the Latin type of things. Sixth grade, oh, and one thing, when I was a kid, for many years, I would go to my uncle's house, which is in New Jersey, for the summer, always as like a family trip, and we would go there every year. That was like our vacation. My parents were all teachers, so we would always have the summers off. And me and my sister, my dad, and my mom, we would always go to, my uncle's house and just spend time there in New Jersey, explore New York, maybe for a week or two. And my uncle, he has always been a musician since he was a kid. So he's the main musician in my family that I was influenced by. He was a drummer, and I actually live with him now currently. He's my roommate. And it was the summer of sixth grade where just after doing all these family trips, I just heard him one day playing the drums. And, asked me if I wanted to play the guitar, and he handed me this red Stratocaster. I think it was a Squire. And I just remember, yeah, the summer of sixth grade was when I really got into music for some reason. He always had this cool basement with a whole bunch of instruments. He had his drum kit, whole bunch of guitars, bass. He was into production, very into drumming, Latin music. And just that summer, for some reason, I gravitated toward the guitar. He gave it to me. He gave it to me after that summer. So I took it home, back to Florida, and that was my first guitar. And it was just something about, I guess the way he would play on the drums. I wanted to join, I guess. I think the first song we played was probably the White Stripes. I think, bum, 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 bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum. And maybe he was playing on the guitar. No, he was playing on the drums, and I was playing on the guitar because he had just shown me the riff or something. But that's what I really remember. That was the point where, I took it back home and I started just learning by myself on YouTube. I tried to learn the songs that my dad wanted me to learn by the Eagles, Led Zeppelin, and stuff. And then after that, going into seventh grade was where I took my first guitar class in middle school because they had guitar as an elective, fortunately. And so I took it there, and that's where the rest started. Yeah.
Yeah, you just never stop from there, huh?
Not really. No, I haven't. It was, during when I first started, I was, just doing a lot of skateboarding and guitar. That was, one and the same for me. And
Yeah.
then eventually guitar took over, and then I started exploring options. What can I do with it? Joining bands, uh, playing in the studio with friends, with producer friends, and all these explorations.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I can definitely see a lot of I guess your passions, right? I've seen you skateboard and play guitar at the same time, so I guess you're finding a good balance between that. But hey, so let's take it to I guess the beginning, right?
Hmm.
I think TikTok was TikTok like your first exposure to I guess a lot of people when it came to your music. Was it TikTok?
When it came to my music, yes, but I first started on Instagram. I would just post my videos of me playing the guitar, and a few times I would get posted on like this big page, talented musicians. And when I got posted, which what I first got posted for the Avenged Sevenfold cover, Mateus Sasato's version, I first got exposure from that video, and people started following me there and on YouTube because I posted it on YouTube too. So I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then I started posting, a good amount on Instagram, throughout the years. 20, and then when I turned 23 was, I think, was that 2014? Yeah, 2014. Um, I became a teacher. I finished school. I got my bachelor's, and the high school that I went to, the current guitar teacher which I had was leaving, and he remembered me when he had me as a student and asked if I wanted to take over. And I was like, wow, that seems like a a big opportunity, a big change. So I went in for some interviews, and I got the job. So I was working my first year as a teacher, and TikTok had just started hitting off, I guess. And students saw that I had an Instagram and that I posted, videos, because all students look up their teachers, I guess. And they saw me on Instagram, and they said, "Hey, why aren't you on TikTok? You should make TikTok videos. There's so many people going viral, this and that." And I was like, "All right, what should I post? Should I do something funny? Should, like, the skits that I always see?" And this was like when the dances were really popular and all this stuff. And so I started doing a few skits, guitar related ones. And that's how I first started. It was because my students from my first year of teaching told me, "Hey, hop on TikTok, start doing TikTok, man." And so I started doing TikToks, by myself. And then eventually my students wanted to do TikToks with me. So I was like, well, I don't know about that, because they're, under 18. How do I
Yeah.
handle that situation? Um, and I was like, well, some of the teachers have Instagrams where they do stuff with the kids, like tutorials or anything like about their class. So I said, okay, we can do some videos, but it has to be in the classroom, and it has to be guitar related, something guitar related, And so what I started doing throughout the years is that if a student wanted to do a video, I tell them, "Hey, you can come after school," or sometimes it would be during school, during free time. We would, think of a sketch or think of a skit, and we would either act it out and try to make some funny content, and then we would post it on on TikTok. And then I guess our content wasn't that common, seeing a guitar player, seeing a guitar teacher doing this type of TikTok content with their students. And I guess, we started to have a few hits, and then, the students would get excited. "Hey, I want some exposure. I want this. Tag me in the comments, tag me this." And so then, it started snowballing, and, we kept coming up with ideas. It was mainly, them coming to me with ideas. "Hey, let's do this, act this way." And yeah, that's how the journey on TikTok started. And it started getting big because of mainly my students, because of those skits and those stuffs. Um, and then on the side, I would also do my own guitar things as well. And, some of those would get exposure too. But the main ones that people seem to like were the interactions and the content I made with my students. And it was also fun to do that. I felt like, oh, okay, I don't see anyone else. I felt like I was doing a good job inspiring my students and kind of getting them into music through this platform as well. And yeah, that's how a big part of my subscribers, or my, how do you say it, followers, started coming into my account.
Yeah. Well, I was definitely one of them, right? So I think that the content was it's pretty awesome, right? I think it's a dream, right? Coming in high school and then having a guitar teacher that is also relatable to the music that you listen to, because they were asking for Polyphia stuff. And again, if
Yeah.
I were to ask for Polyphia stuff on my high school guitar teacher, he would be like, "Nah, you're crazy," you know. Um, but that was one of those things where I would see the skits and they were really funny, right? But then I started like really listening to you playing, and I'm like, okay, this guy can play, right? He's not just a high school teacher that just does some content for TikTok. He can actually play. And then I started following you. But then this song, Room 507, right? That was the first song I listened to, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I was like, hold on, this is serious stuff. Like this is really, really good. So tell me a little bit more about Room 507, because that is a fantastic song.
For sure. So when I became a teacher, it was at the high school that I also went to. And I took over my guitar teacher's job when he decided to leave. So when I was going to high school here in Miami, those 4 years were some of the best years of my life in that room, room 507. That was the guitar room. And, that's where I made a bunch of friends. We had a bunch of cool field trips to Orlando, Universal Studios. A bunch of great memories came from that room, from those 4 years in high school. And then, the opportunity came to take over his job. And I was like, wow, a big part of me was like, wow, I would love to. And I decided to do it. And so whenever I started doing the TikToks with the students. I worked as a high school teacher for 5 years. I think it was the third year, maybe going into the fourth year. I was like, man, I would love to do a song dedicated to Room 507, which is where my high school years were and where I had a lot of great memories with my students as well, teaching. And a lot of the times when I would teach, I would always, our classes were always a little bit over an hour and a half. So we would always have free time. I would let them use the electrics, the drum set, and I would also, take advantage of that time and make riffs on Ableton behind my desk and, just make riffs. So I would have free time too. And that was also great for me as an artist. I would write a lot of stuff during class, and one of those riffs was Room 507, and I was like, wow, I showed it to some of my students. They liked the riff. And that's where I started, building the riffs to go with Room 507. And I would, I would be there in Ableton making the beats as well. And I would get input from my students. And there was one year where I had a lot of students who were producers. And I think it was that year when I made Room 507. So I would always be asking them, hey, you dig this? You like this? What do you think should be in this part? And then I started, posting some of those videos on TikTok. I actually posted like some snippets of me in Ableton, just showing like a video recording of me recording a solo. And funny enough, Tim Henson actually he commented a few emojis on like one of those posts of Room 507, and it was a video that I just did of me recording in Ableton and doing like something like typing while I was recording, like, oh, sexy riff or something like that. And so I was like, wow, I think I have something here. So I did the best that I could to make it a cool song, a bit of R&B and a bit of soulful soloing at the end, and that's how Room 507 was born. Yeah,
Man, that's awesome. Look, I don't want to put you on the spot, man, but can you
go
play
ahead.
us a little bit of it?
Yeah, I'll play the the intro. I still have to. I probably still, man, it's been a while since I played the solo, but so that's like the main riff, and then the when I started doing the chord melody was like what I made later on for the acoustic version. So sometimes I'll
Yeah.
play them both intertwined and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I heard both way too many times. I love the acoustic version, man.
Oh,
So
thank you.
half of your listens are from me. Um, but yeah, it just has that nice melody and chords behind it that are just so tasty, man. So kudos on that. Now, I know that, and you have more songs that are really awesome in your platforms. How do you find that inspiration, dude? Because sometimes, I don't know if it happens to you, but man, I'm like inspired to play. I sit down and nothing's coming out. Nothing's really coming out. So, like, what are some things that you do? What I don't know. How do you tap into that inspiration to come up with songs like this?
There was a good, I mean, a great quote that I heard from, I think, I forgot her name on YouTube, Mary Spencer, Mary Spen
Oh yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. I
I
can,
love her
fun
content.
fact, I came out on her Nam video.
Oh,
I'm like on
really?
minute, yeah, I'm like on minute one or something like that. So
Oh,
yeah,
please
yeah,
send
yeah.
it to me later. I would love to check it out. See where he
Yeah.
popped up. But I was watching one of her videos recently and she was talking about creativity. And I like what she said. She said, creativity is not constant. And then I thought about that. I was like, yeah, I guess she means that, sometimes there are days that you're really creative and you can make a lot of stuff. It could depend on so many factors. And then sometimes you have a few days where it's like, you can't make anything that you're really proud of or that you like. But I think still working that creative muscle is always a great thing. So even if you make something that's bad, it's going to lead you to make something that's good. And what I do to really, well, what I've been doing lately, 2025 hit and I've been getting more into fitness. So I've been a little bit more healthy with my diet and with working out and stuff. And I always try to do an hour walk a day. And for some reason, I always walk around this, little park area. And that's like my favorite part of the walk. And I always think of, man, I want to go over here and make a video over here on this bench. I want to sit over here, get a nice angle here. And I was like, okay, so just the greenery and just this little park area inspires me just to make music. And it's kind of funny because now I want to go over there and make music. And I would do that a few times, like outside. I love to make riffs outside, even though you don't have your comfy chair and stuff, and you have the sounds of the cars going by. But there's still something about just going outside. And sometimes I'll write some good riffs for some reason outside by the grass. So I don't know if that's something maybe just for me, or how nature can really influence the things that you make sometimes too. Other than that being an influence, nature being an influence, I would say. Uh, Going to concerts, yeah, I would. Whenever I go to a concert, I get like a wave of creativity like the next week. Like I remember I went to go see Front Row Red Hot Chili Peppers over here. I forgot what stadium, but over here in, maybe it was Fort Lauderdale. But the whole week after that, I was like so inspired. After seeing after seeing Frusciante play that guitar, up close, and I made a few riffs that actually went viral um on Instagram. No, I think it was, no, it was TikTok, yeah. And it was like using my whammy bar and doing some riff and stuff. I don't know. I made some like cool, like I think it was like I started using like I would, emphasize some notes with doing that whole little, Tim Henson dip. I would do like, so I don't know. I just came up with a few things that I hadn't really messed around with the whammy bar, and I realized it was because I was so pumped up from that concert. I remember coming home from that concert, and I think I went to sleep like at 4 a.m. because I was just making stuff after that. So those two things are really big. Yeah, going to concerts, seeing live music, and lately, just taking my walks in nature. I go on walks, and I usually try to listen to one album, front to back, and doing that has just, I don't know if it's made me less stressed about stuff, but something therapeutic about it for sure.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Going to concerts is dangerous though, man. I went to see Animals as Leaders, and I was like, okay, that's it. I have to get an 8 string guitar now. I just have to.
Oh, you
But
meant dangerous for the wallet.
yeah,
I
yeah, because
thought
I
you were
wanted
gonna
the
mention like
gear.
mosh pitting or something.
Well, I guess that too, but I'm on that age that I just kind of wait on the side now, and just kind of watch. But yeah, yeah, 100%. Going to concerts is so inspiring. You just want to get home and just kind of write some things, right? So, um, but man, there's this song in particular, and I think it's one of our newest ones, that you were able to put out. I think it's called Heartbreak Loop.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that one, man, because that one's very, very special, and that solo is really awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I still need to do a guitar playthrough for the whole track. Um, so Heartbreak Loop started with this viral video that I had maybe like last year, and I think it was maybe in my backyard again. I forgot, but like a lot of people resonated with the riff. Like a lot of people just, and I just, when I think I did it on my acoustic, maybe it was the dynamics of it or something, but just sliding into the chord, into the this lead melody, and then just coming back into the resolution of this chord somehow. Like it's not super complicated, but it's just, it feels good, and it hits you. And it was just soulful, I guess, and it was soulful to me too. I was like, um, sometimes I always think I have to do something flashy. So I had a phase where I was like, oh man, I got to do something flashy always for Instagram. But then I was like, no, it doesn't have to. As long as it feels good, you know, it's worthy of, well, anything I get. Well, I thought that, okay, as long as it feels good, and I like it, then why not just post it? And I think I had just posted it, and it went viral on TikTok. I might have done some like reposts where I did with a different guitar, an electric, and people just like that riff. So, and me, it was funny because I would make some riffs that would become viral, but I would never release like a song right after. It's now a year later, and now is when I finally released it. So I'm trying to get better at that. And Yeah, Heartbreak Loop came piece by piece. It wasn't all in one day. Room 507 was a little quicker. Heartbreak Loop took some time because um, when I made it, I had not an issue, but a thought. I was like, I could keep the song all like chill and like R&B, but I couldn't find an ending that I wanted that I liked. I found like a little vamp, and I can do a little clean, like light overdrive solo, but I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then just there was just one day that I was like, "Man, let me just put a whole bunch of distortion and go into some chords." And I was like, maybe it could be like this thing, kind of like Room 507, where I just go ham at the end again. And for some reason, I was like, man, I really like it. I really like it, like the whole, left turn at the end where I just go off and I get to shred a little bit. I wrote a solo, which took that solo took a while to write, and it was pretty tough. I had to, track certain parts. And but it was super fun. I love to write solos. That was one thing I did over the years. People would ask me to, they would, pay me to write solos for their songs and stuff like that. Because in the beginning on Instagram, I was mainly my posts were like lead work. It was more on that melodic side, not too much like getting into the chord melody yet. And it's always fun writing solos, man, and just pumping up the distortion. But it takes a while for me to make a solo that I'm really proud of and to share.
Yeah,
For me, like doing stuff, I love this stuff, and it makes me happy just to play that and like post it. Like it feels good. And so, why not just post it? Maybe, add a few more elements to it to make it pop out more. Um, but yeah, writing that solo was super fun. I'm super proud of that solo. It's probably my new favorite solo. And
yeah,
but it was a tough one. I need to get in the shed to practice that solo just to make the guitar playthrough video, and then maybe I'll do like a live version of it, like just playing the solo for sure. But thanks for checking that one out.
yeah. 100%. So I remember you were posting about it, right, on your social media, and I was so busy, right? I wasn't able to like go on there, click on it or anything. But I knew I was gonna have some time on my drive on my way to Nam. So I was riding with my buddy, and I was like, "Hey man, I want to check out this song, right?" And he's like, "Who?" He's like, "Hey, well, it's my buddy's Gabe Flores. Let's check out his stuff, right?" And let me just tell you, man, we both were like, "What did we just listen to, man? This was like awesome, right?" So yeah, kudos on that track, man. Is really awesome. One
Thank
of
you
my
so much.
favorites. And that leads me to, I don't know, man. This is at least one of the things that, as a musician, is very special, but hardly anybody gets to experience
Mhm.
this, and it's people covering your music. What was your? Do you remember that first time that someone just kind of played a piece of yours, and then now that I see a tons of people just covering your music? How does that feel, man?
It's like one of the best feelings as a musician. Probably just, well, yeah, that's like one of my favorite feelings. Just when someone covers something that I made, makes me feel like wow, I made an impact in this person's, I don't know, journey and being a musician. They're doing something that I made that came from here and came from here, and it just, man, I just love seeing. Every time I see someone post a cover, I do my best to repost it on my story. And I was like, wow, people are learning my riffs. I'm like, I guess I'm doing something right with my licks and my chords. I guess people are liking it. And the great thing was that I liked what I was making too. And so, yeah, man, that just feels. I just get so excited when I'm about to see a video. When it first started, I don't remember when it first exactly started happening. I think it was for Room 507 when it started happening, maybe a lot more. But man, just seeing people cover the song made me just so happy. And it kind of, I think it even pushed me more because when I see people interacting and actually taking the time to make a video of themselves playing that riff that they had to spend time to learn on, whether it was by ear with the tabs that I have, it's just wow. It's a great feeling. I love seeing it.
Yeah,
It makes me so happy.
I feel like a lot of artists, right, don't really, or not even artists, but a lot of guitarists, musicians, don't get to experience that a whole lot, man, and that's really really awesome. So, man. I don't know, man. I feel like you have a lot of great things going for you. I've seen Fender sending you some treats, right? And Neural DSP reposted in a couple things. So you've been like working with a lot of brands, and that must be a testament of like your hard work and everything that you've done
Thanks.
with guitar. So what are some new future projects, man, that you are working on, or what's a goal that you want to at least accomplish this year or the next few years?
So I mean, lately my main goal has been to build my Patreon because ever since I have been doing music full time, I've been trying to find different sources of income and also elevating the sources of income that I have. And and lately Patreon has been my favorite way to do that, and it's been the most beneficial. Um, when I was a teacher, it was a steady paycheck, and Patreon has been along those lines more of a steady paycheck than streams or selling content like individually in stores and selling merch. Patreon has been a community that I really like, and it was also an app that I used to learn from other musicians also. And I love their interface. I love everything that they're doing. Sometimes they'll have workshops that I'll join and meet other creators, which is cool too. So that's one of my main goals for this year. I started Patreon January 2024. And now it's been a little over a year. And so I'm trying to build it as much as I can because first of all, I love making, my own compositions and putting them on Instagram, and it makes me so happy that people want to learn them. So I said, well, it's a win-win. For a little bit of bread, I can teach you, how to play it exactly, and I'll give you the interactive tab. And so that has worked really well these past few months. It's been growing steadily, and so that's one of my main goal, I guess, kind of concrete one, is to be able to make the same amount of income that I was making as a teacher through Patreon, and of course through the other sources of income I have as well, like doing session work. I work with a studio that's about an hour from here, so I'll get calls from time to time, maybe a few times a month. There are some good months, some bad months. Um, and another goal I have, not really a concrete goal, but is to reach out to more companies and work with more, uh, you know, um, also work with more musicians, like collaborations, not just with brands, but with musicians as well. Um, but the brand collaborations have been, those are always fun. It's always fun to receive any box, on your doorstep and then open it, no matter what it is. So I love that feeling, as I know a bunch of other people do. So I try to do my best to, to accept any company that wants to work with me, and I always work hard to try to figure out something that works for both of us if I have to. But there's so many great companies out there, and I've been, grateful to work with a few of my favorite companies. And so, yeah, those, and another goal of mine is just to, just keep exercising my routine kind of thing, and just stay on a better diet, sleep better. That's something I need to get better at. I'm getting maybe 7, almost 8 hours. Need to get better at that too. But yeah, those are the goals. It's mainly Patreon, just going, because now I'm not getting, I'm not a teacher anymore, so I don't have a government job. So it's now, all or nothing, doing the things that you can do as a musician to, you know, those to make those income streams go up and stuff like that.
Man,
Yeah.
well, congratulations, man. It takes a lot, right, to just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna spend, most of my working hours in music," right? So, man, kudos to you, and again, hopefully, you're able to accomplish that and more, because you're very talented, right?
Thanks.
I've done some classes with you, right? And I love, how you teach the concepts. I love that you can teach, to beginners all the way to, advanced guitarists. So I just love that. Now, so for beginners, right, or for people who want to become content creators, particularly in guitar music, what's some advice that you have for them, right? Even for me, so again, I've recently been able to acquire a little bit of time, right,
Hmm.
and not be able to set up the camera and just play some things. but now I want to take it a little bit more serious, right? Where I want to get tapped into, some brands, work with some brands and things like that. What are some tips that you can give to those type of people?
First and foremost, you know, your space is your workspace. So have it clean. Have every, of course, people say that you should keep your guitars sometimes in your cases. I love to keep them out where it's easy just to pick up. Sometimes I'll usually have an Ableton session open on my computer so that's just easy for me to create if I want to create something. Um, so that's the first thing. Have your tools accessible so you don't have to take them out and then think twice about practicing or whatever it might be. Second, I would say try to be creative a little bit every day, no matter what it is. Make something every day, whether it's for 10 minutes, make something, whether it's a song, whether it's a concept. Take whatever concept you practice, whatever concept you learned, and try to make a song from it. And do that, do one voice memo a day. Sometimes you might have something that might grow into a bigger song. And that's what I had a bunch of times. That's actually what I do lately. I'm looking at my old TikTok videos and bringing back some riffs that I've made, and just exposing them to my new following, and because they probably haven't seen the riff. And yeah, that's another thing. Be creative every day. More along the lines of like the business side of like content creation, I would say try to have a schedule. Even though I don't have a schedule, I just try to post consistently. Just, I try to make something every day, and whether I might post it that day or the next day, I just try to post consistently. But of course, it's not always easy because creativity comes at certain times. So what you can do is do what I also do sometimes are bulk uploads or just bulk creation settings. How do I say bulk creative sessions. So I'll make like a few riffs and I'll just record them. Like I might go by the pool and just go outside because I love to do riffs outside lately, and I might record three. But of course, and then I'll space them out a little bit throughout the week. Or if I'm impatient, I'll just do back to back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and yeah. So posting consistently, and of course, posting on the platforms and stuff. When it comes to brand collaborations, I've been blessed to for companies to reach out to me. I assume that's because of the content that I've made and the following that I've garnered on social platforms and stuff. And now is where I'm starting to reach out to companies, to work with them instead of letting them reach out to me first. So I would also, another thing is to get, of course, acquainted with how to write emails and stuff like that in a professional way. And sometimes like you can use Chat GPT or whatever it is, or just, just be logical and be respectful and find ways that you can talk with these companies about business and stuff like that. Brand collaborations. I would also say one last one would be to do more than what's expected. So let me tell you something. I've been working lately with this company Guild, which is owned now by Yamaha. So like Yamaha, I think owns Line Six now, Guild, Cordoba, and a few companies there. And so I met some of these representatives that I've been emailing back and forth. I met them at NAM, and it was great, putting a face to the email. And so they gave me we did like a brand deal for one of the guitars, and then it took them a while to like pay me for my work because they were in the transition to getting owned by Yamaha or whatever. So it took a while to like get paid for that work. And then what they did was that they sent me a little guitar, a little travel guitar, just to say, hey, sorry about this, but we were transitioning and here's a little guitar. You don't have to make any content with it. We just want to give it to you and all the people we work with, just as, a thank you for being patient with payment processing or whatever it may be. And then what I did with the guitar is that I love the guitar. I take it everywhere. It's so small. I don't need to plug it in. I just put my little mic with some Velcro. And I did like a bunch of videos by the pool, and they loved it. Like I did maybe 15 video, like I they didn't expect me to do any videos, zero. And I just did a bunch of videos, and then they were so happy. They reached out and they said, "Hey, we would like to compensate you for your work, this and that much." And I was like, "Wow, really? I did so many videos." And they actually we're super happy. So, doing more than what's expected. And another thing is that, like, if I get something for a brand collaboration, they say, can you do 3 videos for us? I'll do 3 videos, and then I'll keep doing more. Like, I'll just keep going. Like, if I like the guitar, which I probably most likely will, I'll just keep doing more content with it. And then I guess that kind of snowballs. Like, I've had companies like Donner always reach back out to me, Enya, which, they reach out to a lot of artists lately. So it's there, like, for they want to work with the young talent. They want to work with these people. And, it's cool to have them keeping me in contact, reaching out through, WhatsApp, and always wanting to work. And I think part of that is because I always try to do more than what's expected. They ask me for 3 videos. We'll do the three, we'll close out the deal, and then I'll just keep doing a few more videos every once in a while. So those are a few of the tips that I have for yeah, brand collabs and things of that sort.
Man, that's awesome. I think that's gold, right? I think there's a huge misconception that just the hard work or just playing alone will essentially do the work, but a lot of folks who essentially are missing the business aspect of music, right? They forget that if you want to make a living out of music, or if you really want to grow as a musician, you also need to learn the business side of things, right? So I think those are great things. Um, so what can I know you do a lot of Patreon, and I know you do a lot of one-on-one sessions. What can someone expect on that one-on-one session with you?
For one-on-one sessions, actually, like, lately, I don't really advertise them because I put most of my effort into making just consistent content for Instagram and just growing that following so that my Patreon has more exposure. But what I'm going to start doing, which I did last week, are group Zoom meeting calls for my Patreon members. So that's what I did last week. I only had one person come, but I was super happy. I was like, okay, the first one person. I'm like, the reason I did that also was because I wanted to increase the value of that tier. And Patreon gave me a notification. Hey, it's been over a year that since you've repriced your tier. Do you want to go up? Do you want to? They have this notification system that tells you like updates and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, I think after a year I can raise it $1, but then I would also like to provide more value. So that's what I'm going to start doing. Mondays, I think 1 through 2 is my schedule. Um, 1 through 2, I told my Patreon members, hey, I'm going to start implementing these sessions when I can, Mondays through 1. So look out for those Zoom meeting links, and so that you can join me on a Zoom call, just a group Zoom meeting for just 1 hour. And if you're there, you can pick my brain. Maybe I'll start thinking of things to, go over the first 15 minutes, but then I'm all yours for the next hour. And if you're not there, I'm just going to practice. So that's what I'm doing mainly, going to start doing. But as for sessions where it's just one-on-one, like consultations, like, I'm there to just help you on your journey and help you get one step closer to your goals, whether that's, learning music theory, learning one of my riffs, or having me help you transcribe something. Um, or whether it's just, seeing a visual of, things on my iPad as I write things relating to theory down, or things of that nature. Yeah. And I'm here trying to provide as many, camera angles here. I've got 2 at the moment and my iPad. And, I'm trying to have a nice little setup so you get the most out of what I have to offer. Yeah.
Awesome, I love it. Hey, do you mind teaching me a little something? Just a quick, easy, simple riff. Since I want to make sure we take advantage of that extra angle, man.
Sure.
So yeah,
Yeah.
let's see
Well, I
what you got,
just
man.
actually posted. All right, so
All
check
right,
it out. So one thing that I actually did the other day is that I revisited just a little riff that I made. I forgot. I think it was actually from a collaboration I had with another company that I work with from time to time. Their name is Firefly, and they make like inexpensive guitars. So Um, I made a song for a few of those collaborative videos, and this was the riff that I made. It was very simple. What I'm doing here is that I'm trying to build the progression with different melodies as I go on. So I've got a C major 9, which is just 3 5 4 3. We're just gonna hit it. Yeah. All right. We're gonna be in the key of E minor. All right. So I start off here. which for me, since I'm thinking E minor, this is the sixth chord or the flat six major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I start here, I give it a hand slap, and then I go to an A minor 9. All right, and then I go to an E minor 9. And these are all just voicings that I like. So I started off, and then here I introduce a little lick here. So I'm just actually making like a little, just a little, how do you say it? Like instead of stopping with that, I fill in the space. So, all right, so I'm just going C major, A minor, E minor with a little lick. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing. Ooh. And what I did there is that I did more of a motif this time. So I kind of kept the same progression. I did that little lick, and which connects the next chord because I use the same finger in that next chord. And then I repeat that rhythm again with different notes to give the melody and the chord, I guess a sense of togetherness. And also it's something for your ear to kind of, attach to. It's a motif. It's something that repeats, usually when we listen to music, we're listening to the hook and singing back the hook. This is kind of like has a feature of a hook, it's something that repeats, but it's just the rhythm, right? All right. And then after that, I just get into it. I'll do it again. And there, I'm just going into this diminished chord, and I'm trying to introduce some. So, I think it was, a lot of these licks, or just melodic movements, I'm singing them in my head sometimes first. Like, okay, I want to do ba-na, da-na, and then I'm trying to recreate it on my guitar. And a lot of it is just things that I actually just sing to myself. Certain parts. Now go back, add some harmonics sometimes. I'm going to try to do that more often. And then you just sing to yourself, okay, and ask yourself, where do I want this melody to go? Where do I want it to go on top of this chord? But that's basically the gist of, the riff. It's just I think it was. Yeah, so if you want to learn it, feel
Man,
free to check out my Patreon for the full tutorial. But that's basically just a little insight on how I make them too. Because sometimes it's like, okay, how am I gonna, you got to ask yourself, how do I want to, connect this chord with the melody and then go back into the chord? Do I want the
yeah.
notes to come before the chord, after the chord? And then it's kind of like a game, almost like a puzzle sometimes. And I like board games, and I kind of make it almost like a game. Okay, do I like the way, or do I like this? I go through options and I think of the melody, like where it's going. And I always look, most of the time I'm voice leading the melody. So I'm going to nearby notes in the melody. I'm not doing so many leaps. I'm doing more of mainly stepwise motion. And I'm doing stepwise motion and skips. Not too many leaps and sort of. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. And I think that's a lot of you do this a lot where, you have a ongoing melody, but then all of a sudden you hit us with a cliffhanger or a something that's kind of like, oh, that's nice, a little something, right? So yeah, keep doing it. I'm gonna try to learn that little lick.
It's C, G, B, and then D. Yeah. And I think you got the next one. A, E, G, B. Yeah. And then I like to go to this one, which is just E, B, yeah, F sharp G. I love that chord ever since I learned it. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was that little lick?
So right here, I'm sliding from 2 to 4, hammer on 5, pull off to 4, and then slide it back to 2, and then just pull off.
All right,
Yeah.
let me try it.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go, man. There you
Fire.
go. That's awesome, man. Well, Gabe, I truly appreciate you coming into this podcast, dude. It's awesome just to kind of I named this podcast Beyond Music, right? I love understanding, you know, how people think when it comes to writing riffs, when it comes to, you know, doing solos, and also like the business side of things. I think it's very intriguing. Man, you know, you have a lot of great stuff going on. I'm sure I'm gonna see, you know, work with some big artists here in the future. I'm gonna put it out into the world, you know, working with bigger and bigger brands. So again, Gabe, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to see what we can do together. I know we're gonna put out
Yeah.
a collaboration here soon. But yeah, I just really love your stuff, man,
Thank
and
you.
best of luck on everything that you have going on, my friend.
Likewise, Lewis. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.